All right, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today we're going to talk about disability insurance and why it's probably the biggest hole in almost anyone's financial plan that I see. We're going to talk about why you need it, what it is, what you need to look for, and how to think about it in the context of maybe your pension, your disability income, and your future employer, and kind of the stability of your job situation. So disability insurance is something that people really don't think about, especially those that have been in the military or are in the military. We have a VA disability process that people may know about, but people don't think about having an actual disability insurance policy. So the statistics are wild. 1/4 of people will be disabled before the age of 65. Something like that is what the statistics show. Many people cover themselves for life insurance with SGLI, with private term life insurance policies, which is great. That covers the loss of income in case of death, but it doesn't cover your family if something happens to you and you cannot work. So many people think that their biggest asset is maybe their house or maybe their investment account. And for most folks that are high earning individuals or have lots of earning potential and have lots of years ahead of them to earn money, the biggest asset is really actually their future income. And they don't think at all about protecting that. So we need to think about, how do we protect that future asset that is your income? I'm 30 years old. I have decades in front of me to work and earn income and earn money for my family. If I'm not protecting that income, I need to do that with a life insurance policy, certainly, but I also need to do it with the disability insurance policy. And I'll talk through how I've done that for myself and how to think about your disability insurance situation. Welcome to the Bluff Finance Podcast. I'm Eric Baskin, an Air Force Academy graduate, turned veteran entrepreneur, and certified financial planner. I help military families and veteran business owners achieve financial freedom. Join us weekly as we explore financial tips for the military community and inspiring interviews from successful veteran business owners. So disability insurance in the civilian world, lots of employers may offer this, they may not. So if you get a job, you go work for, let's just say Amazon, a big employer, they may have a great disability insurance policy where they're going to cover you for 60% of your income or whatever after a 180-day elimination period of you being disabled. Private companies sometimes have really good disability policies that are cheap. They're typically group coverage, so they're covering the whole company. If you work for Amazon, there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, however many employees they have of people that they are covering. Usually it doesn't cost much money. It might even be just included for free. We want to check that out. We want to check those details out in the employee benefits package and make sure that you're covered in some way. But I will just caveat that you are not always going to work for one employer your whole life. You're going to switch employers. And if you work for Amazon for 10 years and then you leave and go work somewhere else, maybe at a small startup or something, you don't usually get to take that disability policy with you. That stays at Amazon. That's a group policy there. So now all of a sudden your future income is not covered. And maybe you're a little bit older, maybe you're not quite as healthy, and qualifying and getting a really affordable disability policy might be more difficult. So having a personal disability insurance policy is always going to be your safest bet from a risk perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the best solution for every single person. I'm certainly not advocating for that, but it is something to think about in terms of how many employers do you expect to have? Are you a business owner? Do you have no employer? So myself, I'm a business owner. I'm never going to work for anybody. So I knew when I was getting out of the military that I had to insure my future income with a private disability insurance policy. So how to think about principles of insurability in this context as well. You need income to insure. No insurance company is going to write a disability policy on you if you have no income. So if you got out of the military or you quit your job or something and you go apply for a disability insurance policy, well, they're not going to insure you because if you make $0 there, and then if this disability policy pays you $4,000 a month, if you're disabled, there's a lot of moral hazard issues there where you could go make a claim on, very easily. You're incentivized to make a claim. You're not making any money. So you need to have income to insure. You need to be making, more than that policy would pay you. So generally, how much disability coverage do we want? Usually the rule of thumb is we want like 60% of your income to be covered. Your gross income, let's just say it's $100,000 a year. If you were disabled and at home, usually you cut back expenses. Usually you're not actually spending $100,000. There's taxes, there's all this. Those disability payments are going to be tax-free if you paid for the policy. If you didn't pay for the policy, they'll be taxable. But we want to also incorporate our guaranteed sources of income when we're kind of doing this head math. If you have a pension, if you have VA disability income coming in, like you're probably less likely to need as much disability insurance coverage from a company. So you need to think about that. If you, again, think about the worst thing that's to happen. You're 35 years old and something happens where you can't work for the next 30 years. How are you going to get income? What is that deficit going to be? So that's kind of what you need to think about. You also want to think about getting a policy that is own occupation. That's the term you want to look for. So that means if you can't do your occupation, so there's lots of different definitions, but some of these will be written for any occupation. So those are really hard to get because if I am a construction worker and something happens to me and I have an any occupation policy, that means the policy won't kick in because the company's going to make the argument you can go do a different job. You can do a desk job maybe, something that doesn't require being physical. So your own occupation is the best way to protect your income. So super important, especially for those that are doctors, those that have super specialized skills. That is the reason they have such a high income. So if something happens to them and they can't do their own job, that disability policy is going to pay out. We also want to make sure that you have an inflation rider on your policy. We want to make sure it's non-cancelable and renewable until 65. Looking for a framework to manage your finances? Visit baskinfp.com to download the ultimate military and veteran financial checklist. This is the exact same framework that I use with my clients and gives you a comprehensive checklist to manage your finances. That's baskinfp.com for your free military and veteran financial checklist. When to get the policy, like when do we want to get it? Generally, kind of like life insurance, younger and healthier is going to be better if we're going to get a private policy. So ideally, if you're getting out of the military, it's before that process, that VA disability claims process, that will certainly harm your ability to attain disability insurance in the future from a private company. I can tell you for myself, when I was getting out of the military, before I went through the VA claims process, I got a private policy in place. So I have a private insurance policy. I pay $1,400 a year for it, and it's non-cancelable. It's inflation rider. It's own occupation. And I did that based on my military income because I had income to insure at the time. They were able to write that policy on me. It's with Mass Mutual. That was just the company when I went through my independent insurance agent. That was the company that popped up for me. And that covers now my future income. It doesn't really matter that I went through this VA disability process. It doesn't matter what happens to my health going forward. As long as I keep paying that premium, that insurance policy will be intact. So getting that in place before I transition as a business owner was super important for me. And it's something to think about. If you're a business owner, certainly I would advocate for it. If you're not, just think about where you're going to work, what kind of work you're going to be doing, how long you're going to be there. Are they going to be able to cover you with a disability policy? All things you need to think about, and most people aren't. So just to paint a picture about why these are so valuable, these policies, they are non-cancelable, own occupation. So just to give you an example, if the policy is written properly, this could be, let's just say, a lawyer, a female lawyer that earned $20,000 a month. So she made $240,000. She gets a private disability policy on her income. It pays $12,000 a month if she's disabled. Just making up numbers here. Then let's say life happens, right? We get married, we have kids. She decides she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. She then transitions out from working and is a stay-at-home mom. While she's a stay-at-home mom, if something happens to her that does not allow her to be a proper stay-at-home mom, take care of her kids and all that, that is her occupation. That disability policy, believe it or not, if she's paying the premium on that whole time, that will kick in if she cannot conduct her own occupation at that time of being a stay-at-home mom. picking the kids up from school, of whatever it may be, grocery shopping, whatever it may be for that job that she's in right now, which is really taking care of the house, taking care of the unit, taking care of the family. So super, super powerful. She's going to get, something happens to her, she's laid up for a year or two, she's going to start getting paid $12,000 a month tax free because she got a private disability insurance policy in place while she was a lawyer on that, based on that income. So it's just an example of how to think about why a private policy is so, so, so valuable and is truly the best way to protect your family and your future income if we want to look at a risk perspective. So why don't people get disability insurance? Why don't people talk about it? People don't understand it. People don't want to pay the premiums. That's usually the big one. So they can, just depending on your health, they can be very expensive. I told you, I shared with you, mine costs about $1,400 a year. They can be 1% to 2% of your income. But again, I share it is the best way to protect your future income, truly, is that private disability insurance policy. There's really no replacement for it if you want to be sure that your family's taken care of if something happens to you and you can't earn that income that we're expecting. So in conclusion, disability insurance is truly one of the biggest holes in financial plans that I see consistently time after time again. I've almost never seen someone come in with a really good disability insurance policy unless it's from a reputable employer that offers a really good company policy. So you need to think about what your income is, what it might be in the future, how much risk there is out there with that future income, what your job is, what your health is right now, how long you're going to be working at your employer, are you a business owner? These are all things that need to be going through your head. Are you getting out of the military? Are you going to go through the VA claims disability process? How much pension income do you have? How much guaranteed VA disability income do you have? What is that gap, that future income that if you weren't able to work for 10, 20 years, how do we cover that gap? What is the plan to cover that? So these are all things that should be going through your head when you're thinking about the risk of your income from a disability perspective and making sure that you're covered, whether that's a private policy, whether that's a really good policy at work. Just understanding what disability insurance is and how it fits into your situation is key to a strong financial plan. So I hope that this was helpful to shed some light on disability insurance and what it is and how to think about it. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, would love it if you'd rate a review. It really helps the show grow and get into the hands of more people. So I've really appreciated the feedback thus far. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week with another episode. Thank you for joining us today. Do you want the exact financial planning framework that I use with clients? Go visit baskinfp.com where you can grab a free download of the ultimate military and veteran financial checklist to give you the bluff on what you need to be doing to manage your finances. We'll be back next week with some more content to help you on your journey to financial freedom. See you then. This is a friendly reminder that the Bluff Finance Podcast is general and educational in nature and does not constitute tax, investment, legal, or financial advice with respect to any particular individual or taxpayer. Please consult with your own tax, legal, financial, and other advisors regarding your own unique situation.